Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ZBN podcast. I'm your host, Chase. I don't know how that happened. And today I'm joined by Nick. This is where you
Hi,
say
everyone.
things. And Josh.
Hello.
All right. So a lot has happened since we had a podcast, because didn't we, accidentally skip the last time we were supposed to have a podcast because stuff didn't happen?
Something like that might have happened. We
Yeah.
got a little bit delayed. I haven't been on too many, but I've been privy to the inside knowledge that we just had some delays.
Yeah, but since then we've made a lot of new shows. We've made 20 questions, where someone thinks of a game and then a bunch of other people try to guess what that game is in 20 questions. I'm gonna be on some of those soon, and boy, was it completely atrocious. I apologize in advance, viewers.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys won't feel too bad because I'm also on, and for most of the episodes I don't do so great either.
You were better than me, though.
That's true. Just a little.
I haven't been on yet, but
complete one.
I've been watching them and I've been really enjoying following along with the questions.
These next few might infuriate you, though. We've also debuted 5 Hours In, where we play a game for 5 hours and then talk about it for 5 minutes. So far we have had 2 episodes of that, where Dan played Splatoon and I played Ocarina of Time. Expect more of me on that. Wink, wink, wink. If I can ever get to recording the thing. We have also made the new show ZBN Real Life, where people do things in real life and film it. So far it's just been Spiegel, but I've heard that more people are doing those. And is that all? I think that's all for our new shows.
I think that covers all the major announcements.
I apologize to whoever's on the other show we're forgetting to mention. Whatever that might be. That's all I can remember.
And this isn't the end of our new shows either. Wink, wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge.
So everybody's excited for those to start happening. But right now we're in the podcast. And so today, as you've probably guessed from the title, this is a Sonic discussion. Because I'm a Sonic fan, and Nick is a Sonic fan.
And I'm a Sonic fan.
Josh is a Sonic fan. So we're just gonna talk about Sonic for a while. And let's start by everybody saying what their favorite Sonic game is. One of you two go first.
All right, Nick can go first.
Well, I'll start. My favorite Sonic game is definitely, and I think any Sonic fan would count this, would be Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the combined game. That's pretty much my go-to game. It's one of the only ones where I've completed everything end to end multiple times. I never get tired of playing that game.
Yeah, at this point, those games are basically the same. Like, no one says, oh, it's Sonic 3 or it's Sonic and Knuckles. It's Sonic 3 and Knuckles now.
Yeah.
There's no reason to separate them anymore.
I mean, sometimes they abbreviate it to just be Sonic 3, but we know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The and Knuckles is assumed at this point.
Ever since I found out about that lock-on when I was a kid, when I first played that was it for me. I thought that was cool already. So.
What about you, Josh?
My Sonic game is actually the same as Nick. It's Sonic 3 and Knuckles for pretty much all the same reasons that he said. And I think it's one of the best, or at least one of my favorite platformers that I've ever played. And people tend to think that the Sonic series is known for a lot of bad games, but I don't know if those people have played Sonic 3 and Knuckles, because that's a pretty high-quality game, especially on the Genesis.
Yeah, that's always one thing I've noticed about people who dissent against Sonic, is that they kind of there are a lot of bad games. We all admit that, but there's a lot of good games too, and those very often get kind of shoved to the wayside when talking about the series. For example, my favorite Sonic game is one that neither of you two said. Well, you said the same one, but my favorite is Sonic Generations.
I love that game. That's my favorite modern game. If we were to give it a more specific category, that's definitely my favorite. Which is cheating, because it's my favorite modern game that's trying its hardest not to be that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the classic games too, but I've always not been great at them. And I've always been a little bit better at the 3D Sonic games, and I guess that kind of makes me generally like this style more. And Generations for me is just the most polished version of that. Plus, it has a lot of classic Sonic elements that you can get into as well.
Well, it works really well, and they really did a good job taking levels that existed in 3D originally and then converting them to 2D. Like, anyone who's played Sonic Adventure 2 knows about City Escape.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the first level. It's a
I'd
ridiculous
say
thing to
Modern
say.
City Escape is probably the best, one of the best
Yeah,
levels
the
in that
conversion
game.
was a really good job. Like, the way they put the truck into it and the music remix, I thought it was all amazing.
Yeah, Sonic Generation... In general, the Sonic series has pretty much always had good music, except for, like, some of the spin-offs that weren't really Sega-related.
Yeah. The soundtrack's always been really solid across the Sonic series, even in the depths of the worst moments in Sonic's history, Sonic 06.
People forget that 06 has a great soundtrack.
Yeah, it really does.
Generations tries to remind you just a little bit with a terrible
Yeah.
level that has a great song.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'll
Crisis City
admit-
and Generations.
Well, yeah, I'd have to admit, I didn't play enough of Sonic 06 to get that far, but I can't imagine the original version of that level was as good as the way Generations presented it.
No.
Oh, of course not.
I've played the whole game. It's not.
Yeah. Like, we could probably
the
talk
same
the
as the
whole
rest
time
of the
about
game.
how bad Sonic 06 is. If that game represented the series, which they chose to in the title, of all the games to just call it Sonic the Hedgehog, that's the one they chose to do it for.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
It's
Sega
kinda
has
tragic.
problems. And
Yeah.
we're probably gonna talk about that a lot during this.
Yeah, but that's for later on in the podcast.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself.
We should start on a positive note and say what Sonic generally does right most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like one thing I always like loved about Sonic was like no matter which style they go for, there is always a lot of high speed action, and like generally you can if you know what you're doing, get the characters to go really fast and be incredibly energetic and do all this cool stuff. And I don't know, that's one thing that always drew me to it. That's also kind of why I like Generations boost mechanic, because you can just go so fast in the boost mechanic games.
Yeah, that is an adrenaline rush. That I have my problems with the boost mechanic ever since they introduced it in Sonic Rush, but I mean, it definitely helps like pump your adrenaline up and get you really excited to play Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about what else Sonic does right. I think it does slow parts, for the early games at least, for a game that presents itself as being really fast, like Sonic 1, has really good platforming.
Yeah.
In general. Like, when the game focuses on doing its platforming well, it's usually, I think it's, I would never say it's as good as Mario, but it's in that league of games that get up there.
I can agree with that, but I think that Sonic 1 has a little bit too much slow platforming and not enough speed.
Yeah,
But-
well, before the Sega Genesis evolved its Super Blast processing, to make
Yeah.
it fast.
Well, one thing I've noticed about a lot of people who are criticizing Sonic is they're always talking about how it's supposed to be all about speed, and to an extent, Sonic has speed has always been an aspect of Sonic, but I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I think at least the classic Sonic games on the Genesis, it's kind of become a bit different as time went on, but it was more about movement than about speed. Because those games, those were some of the earliest like physics-based games, because you are basically this ball running around in this environment, this really heavy ball, and you have to try to manipulate yourself to build momentum and get speed going. Whereas in the newer Sonic games, you can go from 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds, and it barely takes anything. You can walk up walls sometimes even.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sonic
our
06.
friend who couldn't be here with us today, Chris of 8-Brit fame, wanted to make some similar comments about how, and I agree with him and yourself, that the games weren't always just about being fast. It was about how you used your speed and momentum to play well. You would die a few times and get a sense of the layout, because that's how games were in general back then. You just kept trying and retrying. It wasn't, designs changed a lot since then. They were less forgiving, and it was about that memorization.
And like
Yeah.
the idea of Sonic was famously based on Super Mario Brothers, when I forget who it was. It might have been Yuji Naka. Yuji Naka.
I believe it was Yuji Naka.
Okay, if we're wrong, please correct us in the comments. But I believe it was Yuji Naka who was playing Super Mario Brothers, and he loved that the feeling of holding down the run button and just jumping your way through the level without slowing down. And I don't think he got that exact feeling across in the classic Sonic games, but it led to something I think is greater than that. Whereas I think the most equatable thing to that original kind of feeling nowadays would be something like Bit Trip Runner or the special levels in the modern Rayman games where you just run through the level and jump at certain moments to the music.
Oh, the music levels.
Yeah, those definitely gave me a slight Sonic vibe, something that it could have been like. Mm-hmm. So we kind of transition right into it. Something else I really like about Sonic in general is the music. And we sort of said that, but like going more in depth on it, I don't think there's been a single Sonic game I've played where I haven't been mildly hooked on the soundtrack. And that's always been true since the originals, but more recently, Sonic Rush, which I forget his name. Yeah. I can't remember.
Hideki Naganuma.
Yeah, he did the Jet Set soundtrack too. Mm-hmm. So it was that same kind of feeling. Yeah,
like the Sonic series is probably my personal favorite series of music. It may not have like any of them may not be my favorite game soundtrack. I think that's probably Kid Icarus Uprising, but I'm kind of biased there because I love that game. But it's definitely my favorite series. I try to download as much video game music to my phone as I can. I think I'm one song away from having 1,000 Sonic the Hedgehog songs on my phone.
Wow. Okay, see, I thought I would have had you beat there, but you might have just crushed me with that revelation.
It's $9.99. It was $9.93, but then I downloaded the 6 songs from Sonic Runners, like, this morning.
I'd say I'd rival that, but half of mine is just sound effects from the games.
I thought I had a lot with just my Sonic Generation soundtrack and both the Sonic Adventures and Sonic CD, but that's way more than I would have thought anyone could possibly have.
Speaking of Sonic CD, what do you like? That game has 2 different soundtracks, and I don't know how I feel. That's actually one of the exceptions, that I don't think I like the American soundtrack to that game very much. Or
I kind of agree with you. I definitely think the Japanese soundtrack is way better.
Like, they lost a lot in translation, and when that game came out, it feels like they just converted it to fit a kind of weird 80s vibe, which interestingly a lot of modern Sonic games do as well, but for a different style.
I definitely prefer the Japanese soundtrack when I'm playing the game myself, but I still think the American soundtrack is fantastic, and it's definitely worth playing through the game twice with each soundtrack just to get both experiences. Yeah.
Well, I think the re-release they put on phones and like Xbox Live Arcade, did that have both soundtracks?
Yes. It did have both soundtracks.
Yeah, I feel like
in fact, that's actually the outlet I was first exposed to most of the classic Sonic games from. I eventually did get Sonic Mega Collection because, I wanted to play 3 and Knuckles. Mm-hmm. And that's not on iPhones. Why is that not on iPhones?
I have no idea.
He wants to do it,
Yeah, there's a petition. Go look for that petition.
I started with having a Sega Genesis, although I played someone else's at first, and then I loved Sonic so much that I had to get it. And then eventually I got Sonic 3D Blast, and we'll talk about that later in the show. Yeah, that's the part of the show that fits in.
Yeah. I have a weird Sonic history in that I started with Heroes, and then a couple years later, for like a birthday or something, someone got me Adventure DX, which I didn't play much of because I didn't know where to go. Because I was a dumb kid.
But they tell you, the glowing light.
It tells you all the time where to go.
What happened was I beat Eggman in front of Tails' house, and then I got lost and I didn't know where to go.
Yeah, I could see that happening. The game wasn't totally forthcoming sometimes.
Yeah. And then like years later, after I had almost basically forgotten about it, I went and I found Generations in a game store and was like, oh, I'll get this game because I really wanted to, like, oh yeah, Sonic's a thing. Let me try this. And now it just hooked me, and I have been trying to get all the rest of them. Also, I don't have none of us have played all of them, right?
I doubt it. There's a lot. There's some stuff I haven't played, or I've only played like 5 minutes of.
I've gotten pretty close to playing all the Sonic games, I think, at least. There might be some obscure ones that I haven't even heard of.
Anything that's on one of the collections I've played, because I got the Mega Collection and the Gems Collection on GameCube.
Yeah,
and
I got that one too.
And then I have I had a Sonic collection for PC quite a while ago that had Sonic R on it. That might be in Gem's collection, but that's when I first played it.
Yeah, it's in Gem's collection.
I don't know many that wouldn't be. There's one that wasn't released that became Knuckles Chaotix. It was called like the beta name was like Sonic Crackers.
I've heard of that, but I don't know like anything about it.
It basically, I don't know if you've played Knuckles Chaotix, but or Sonic Advance 3, which brought the mechanic back, but you play as two characters at once that are bound to each other by a ring. And you basically use your abilities together, and you have to. I don't know how it works in Knuckles Chaotix, but I know in Sonic Advance 3 you get different abilities by pairing different characters up.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know much about Knuckles Chaotix. For me, it's basically just a thing of, oh, my name is Chase. I need to play more video games at all times because I haven't played enough video games. So I'm trying to get to it. I'm like slowly collecting all of them, but I still haven't played them all. Like, after all of that time, I'm finally going back to Adventure DX to try to do that for the first time.
Oh, so you haven't gone back at all since then?
Well, I have now, and I'm like very close to finishing Sonic's story, and I'm enjoying myself so far on that.
Oh,
Good-
we'll see
good
how
luck
you feel
when you
get
still
to
need
do
to
Big the
pick up-
Cat story.
Yeah, good luck when you get to the
Yeah.
fishing simulator.
I still need to pick up like some of the bad ones. Like, I don't have Shadow yet. I don't have Secret Rings.
I bought Shadow the Hedgehog and was so deeply disappointed the moment it was in my hand and I realized what I'd done.
I was so young and immature when I got Shadow the Hedgehog that I just didn't care. I loved the heck out of it, and that's one of the I really hate this about myself, but it's one of the few games that I've actually beaten to 100% completion. Shadow the Hedgehog is on my list of those games.
Oh, that's amazing.
By 100% completion, you mean getting to the real ending, not
Yes.
getting every single possible ending, because that's like impossible.
Well, every single possible ending
like every single
leads up
possible
to
pathway.
the final ending.
Yeah,
No,
you have to beat all
every
of
single
them.
possible pathway.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the pathways, not every ending. Let's not even go there.
I think this is probably a good transition into what Sonic does wrong a lot. Because they do the same things wrong a lot.
Well, okay, the big one is just they can't make up their mind. Like, the times that they make up their mind are the times we're praising. Like, when they do Sonic Generations, they went in with a mission statement, which was remake classic Sonic levels and make more 3D levels the way we've been doing them. And then
they usually are better when they stick to a pattern. Like, the main like 3 groups of the best Sonic games are the classic series, where they kind of just had one pattern of how Sonic controls and what he does. The Adventure series, Adventure 1 and 2, which kind of controls similarly. And then the 3 Boost games, being Unleashed, well, questionably Unleashed, but also Colors and Generations.
Yeah. It started with Unleashed, and then they refined it later with Colors and Generations.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, you can tell, I mean, in a lot of ways, it feels like they could have maybe accomplished that with Sonic 06 if they'd cut out all of the continued attempts to make it like Adventure.
And also,
Like,
if they weren't rushed to get it out by Christmas of 2006,
well,
if they had been given more
debatable
time.
whether they really were rushed. That was an interesting decision that they made there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if they just waited, just like Miyamoto says, a bad game is bad forever, and we get to make fun of it forever.
Sonic 06 is the best example of that.
Like, that game's going to live in infamy. And if they manage to make a worse game, they can't. I'm just going to go ahead and say they can't.
Well, people like to think Boom is worse.
Is it? I haven't even played it.
I haven't played Boom either, but from all of the various sources I've seen, it does not look worse than 06.
I played the 3DS demo version, and it was like they took what was kind of working in Sonic Rush and Sonic Colors and just started beating it up. And we're like, all right,
but the 3DS and the Wii U versions are completely different games.
And
From
that's
what
why
I've
they're
heard,
giving
the
a
3DS
sequel to the
version is at
3DS
least
one.
Okay. Yeah.
well,
from
that's
what I've
the
heard,
thing, though. People say the 3DS one is okay, and that's the one I played and thought, like, this is okay? Like, I don't know.
It's okay in comparison.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair way to put it.
But from what I've seen of Boom, basically it's all of the glitches and that kind of stuff isn't as bad as 06, and then removing all of the if you remove the glitches from 06 and you remove the glitches from Boom is a better game than 06.
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
if you put the glitches back, the glitches are worse in 06 anyway. So Boom is the better game.
Yeah,
They're
I've
learning
since it's
some
been patched.
lessons, kind of.
But
I've
also that
watched-
wasn't Sonic Team, so I'm not entirely sure how we should feel
what
about
happened to
this.
Lost World? Like, what happened with that game? The button combinations make like, they had it down in either generations or colors, which were slightly different. And then they were like, no, we're going to have 4 different buttons needed or whatever, and have a run button in Sonic. Like, why is there a run button?
I was really excited that they were going to continue what they were doing in Generations with Sonic Lost World, and then they just totally screwed up all of the controls, and it was the most convoluted way to control Sonic in any game that I've played.
It made no sense.
There was no reason.
I'm going to be the dissent in saying that I thought Lost World was okay. It was definitely a step back from Generations, but I thought it wasn't terrible. Like, it could have been worse.
I guess I was just disappointed after finding the previous game so much better. It seemed
yeah, I completely agree there. I think people give Lost World a hard time.
Because I think about Lost World as an attempt to capitalize on Mario Galaxy style like mini worlds, because that's kind of how they pitched it a little bit with him going from like floating island to floating island. But Colors already did that better in terms of power ups. So it just seems so strange. It seemed like they were deliberately trying to be different without a real reason behind it.
Yeah.
And
like Lost World screams experimentation.
You can tell with the art design as well. Like they were really trying to find something new with the enemy designs, the level designs, just the visual design of the game in general. It's so different from everything that Sonic has done before, and it's up to the player on whether or not they were good designs, but I don't think they are. I think they're some of the most bland enemy designs that we've had in any Sonic game.
I must agree, because I can't even remember them.
I mean, the game plays the nostalgia card like all over the place.
Does it?
And
like, what does it do?
It has like really classic looking enemies just everywhere.
Yeah, the classic enemies look nice. I like how they designed those, but like what was the name of the team of bosses?
Oh, the Deadly Six.
Yeah, the Deadly Six or whatever. Like, one of the most forgettable rogues galleries in any game that I've played.
I can agree there, because they're all just really one note.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some DLC special thing with that I remember seeing it being like, I don't see how this is any more appealing.
Well, didn't they have one where it was like they had a Legend of Zelda one and a Yoshi one?
Yeah, I've played those. I thought the Zelda one was at least a very cool concept.
Yeah.
And the Yoshi's Island one wasn't bad. It was pretty cool too. But
They were an interesting attempt at trying to gather in the core Nintendo audience, but really, since the core game itself wasn't all that great to begin with, it didn't pan out very well for them. I think in a better game that would have been a lot cooler.
All right,
I agree.
So what other elements of Sonic commonly get ragged on? I mean, 06 is the big one. Sonic Boom is sort of like the successor in that category.
Mm-hmm.
People are pretty split. Some people feel like the advanced games were actually really bad.
I disagree.
I disagree as well, but there's some dissent in the sense of feeling like they're hold right to win games, like Sonic Advance 2, that they're just too easy, that the game kind of just pushes you through.
It's almost true for Sonic Advance 2, since there is more of an emphasis on just going in very long stretches without really stopping. But in Sonic Advance 1 and Sonic Advance 3 in particular, like, there's a lot more platforming in there, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people are complaining about those two games.
I guess it comes back to what it comes down to, what it's doing wrong that's universally seen as wrong. It just comes down to when the games are unplayable. When it comes down to the design, people don't seem to completely agree on what's wrong for Sonic. It goes back to what we were saying, where it's about speed, but it's not really about speed.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rush and Advanced games start to push it more in the direction of speed. I still like them, and I almost like it as an evolution of the series, but that's where it's hard to say that the series has gotten bad. I think that the ones that are well received, you just don't hear about, really. Generations came, it was all right. It was good, actually. It wasn't just all right. It sold decently as far as I know, and then that was it. Like, because it wasn't terrible, people didn't pay attention to it, because that's what Sonic's become.
Yeah, and that is one other thing I do want to mention, is that I think a problem with Sonic is its fans.
Oh, yeah.
I
Sorry,
say
fans.
That, but no,
Sorry,
okay,
fans.
let me explain myself. In that Sega, like all the fans say, listen to us, listen to your fans, and do what the fans want. But so many groups of fans exist that'll have differing beliefs. The fans don't know what they want.
The fans
Like,
are what made
some
Shadow the
people
Hedgehog
want-
happen.
Yeah,
By the
some
way.
people want like classic Sonic gameplay, some people want adventure style gameplay, some people want more boost gameplay. No one knows what they want. Some people want like serious stories, some people want lighter stories. No one knows what they definitively want, and the group is so divided that if Sega tries to listen to any one group, they'll anger the rest of them.
Wait, did anyone want the Dark Brotherhood? That game?
Oh,
I don't think anyone
I
wanted
think
that.
some people were at least intrigued of the idea of a Sonic RPG.
Yeah.
That
Three
game
guys
was
at
just done
BioWare that
poorly.
made that game.
I was interested in playing it. I never ended up picking it up because I heard it got mediocre reviews.
Yeah, it didn't look as good as it originally sounded like it might be, just in concept.
Especially from
I
BioWare.
found a copy at like a convention, and I picked that up for like $10. So I'm gonna play that eventually, but you know, I have more important games to play.
Yeah. And then Sonic is also, I mean, in terms of him being what is done wrong, is he's starting, like, they've put out some good material on mobile. Like, you know, they released the Sonic 1 and 2 and CD updates that were all really, really good. But then they have Sonic Jump, and all
Which
these
is
mobile
just Dual
games.
Jump,
they
and then
just-
Sonic Dash, which is just Temple Run.
Yeah, and they just are like, he's starting to get used as that type of just horse that they drag out, and that's
Yeah.
kind of that's a little bit of a letdown for him in general as a character, because it doesn't bode well if those games do well at all, or Sega perceives them as doing well, they'll keep doing it.
Yeah, and Sonic
Yeah.
went through a similar period like that back. I think it was after Sonic 3 and Knuckles. There were just a lot of really mediocre, like just tiny spin-off games on the Game Gear and on the Saturn and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
I think this modern period of having mobile Sonic games is kind of mirroring that period.
well, I don't know. I would say Runners isn't bad, but I'll save my thoughts on that for another time. Wink, wink.
Well,
But
man, that's
I
really.
I wouldn't say that game is bad. I mean, the other ones, yeah, I agree with you.
I don't even know if it's about being bad. It's just so empty like, it's not really, like, nothing is happening there of substance.
Yeah, I mean it might be a really fun game, but there's not as much content in there as there would be in and I'm using finger quotes here, a main series Sonic game.
Which I wouldn't
Yeah,
even
I
complain
agree
about
there.
if we got a good main series Sonic game. I'd be like, mobile, who cares? Keep doing whatever you want. We've got this too.
Yeah, it's like the Metroid Prime Blast Ball effect.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
boy.
We would like if this came after the announcement of like a Sonic game that was actually good and we all received it well, we wouldn't care that you're making a spin-off. But you're making a spin-off before you've determined that you can actually make something good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remembered the one game that I really thought was just bad, which was Sonic the Hedgehog 4.
Oh my goodness.
Like, that game was just cash in beyond belief. Like, look, it has
Oh,
a 4
yeah.
in the title, and you can see the Death Egg in one of the levels. Like,
I
that's
think-
neat.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think they tried to do a lot better, and you could tell that they put more effort into episode 2 of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
That
it
was
was
better.
visually a lot more appealing, and I think the level design was a lot better, and the boss fights were
though,
better.
How were the controls in 2? Because I only ever watched videos because I couldn't bear to try it. Because the first game's controls made no sense.
It
The physics, I mean, not the controls. The
they
physics.
felt better than the first episode, I think. They're still not perfectly on par with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but it was getting there.
Yeah. Oh, man. I guess we'll never know what makes that so difficult, but
And-
so easy, I guess, for generations.
And I don't know
Yeah.
if people just didn't buy episode 2, but Sega just totally canceled Sonic 4, so just leaving it in the middle there, just two mediocre / bad games that they just
I
decided to
think
leave
there were more
behind.
games at the time that were starting to do that episodic format, and a lot of companies were like, this is the way to go, but it didn't really work out for every type of game.
No.
Yeah.
Like, see how it worked out for Valve. they want to put more effort into each of their games, so that's why it took so long for
That's
episode
kind of what I'm
3.
talking about, yeah.
Yeah. Not everyone can do it, for sure.
Mhm.
Not everyone
Yeah.
is Telltale.
It really has to depend on what game you're trying to make, and it doesn't really work for Sonic because, yeah, not everyone is Telltale.
Mm-hmm.
Boy,
Uh,
we spent so much time ragging on Sonic. I think we spent more time saying why it's bad.
I want to say one thing before
should
we
we
try to
all go
move
back
to,
and talk about how
the last section.
Okay. Oh. Well, I also think that we should talk about, because we kind of skipped over this part. We should all talk about how we were each individually brought into the series in depth.
Oh yeah.
We kind of touched on it a little bit, so you can go first if you want, and then I'll recap mine.
Okay.
Same.
So when I was in first grade, I had these friends across the street who had a GameCube, and I had a PlayStation 1, and they had just bought Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and I thought that was the absolute coolest game I have ever seen, because this blue hedgehog running away from trucks and all these explosions everywhere and action and speed and adventure. And eventually I ended up buying Sonic Heroes later down the road alongside Sonic Advance 3. So I had this really weird introduction to the series where I had like classic-ish 2D gameplay with Sonic Advance 3, and then the at the time modern 3D Sonic gameplay with Sonic Heroes. So I was exposed to both at the same time in a way. And I loved the heck out of Sonic Heroes at the time. I have different opinions about it now, but yeah, that was basically what set me on the path to becoming a Sonic fan. I ended up buying Sonic Mega Collection Plus after that, got exposed to all the Genesis games, and the rest is history pretty much.
Nick, you want to do your recap?
Yeah, so I was introduced in the faraway time of the past known as the 90s, when I would have been young enough to be in daycare during the day, I guess in the summer. I can't even remember now. And I played the original Sonic a lot, and I loved it so much that I demanded my parents get me a Sega Genesis and Sonic for Christmas. They ended up getting me Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and I played that and loved it, and then I got stuck in the carnival level and stopped playing for years until I figured out how to get past the barrel because I didn't know what to
Not
press.
the barrel.
The barrel.
So for anyone watching who also suffered this, I'm so sorry. It's the worst.
Never forget.
I also got stuck on the barrel.
Yeah.
I played Sonic 3 for the first time, like maybe a couple years ago.
For anyone,
if that long ago.
For anyone who didn't play, late in the Carnival Night Zone near the end, there's this spinning barrel that you stand on as Sonic, and when you jump, it seems like it responds to you landing on it by going down and then popping back up like it's bobbing in the water.
Because it does respond.
It has nothing to do with that. You can just stand on it and press up and down on the control pad, and it moves up and down in correspondence. It's the dumbest thing.
It's so
and
dumb.
It almost ruined Sonic, but thankfully Sega managed to do that on their own later.
Yeah.
So, I first started playing Sonic with Sonic Heroes, and I had a weird childhood because I really, really love video games, but my parents were like, oh, you shouldn't just always play video games, you should have other interests, like sports, because I know you like sports. And so, I didn't really pay attention to video games much as a kid until like high school, and then I started really paying attention to them. So I got Sonic Heroes, and then eventually somebody gave me Sonic Adventure DX for GameCube, and I told you I didn't get far on that, and I didn't even beat Heroes as a kid because I'm awful at single player games. I'm better at them now, but I was pretty bad as a kid. So eventually, like years down the road, I found a copy of Sonic Generations in like a Best Buy or something, and I was like, oh, I'll pick that up because I haven't played Sonic in a very long time, and it reinvigorated my love for the series. I went back and I got colors, and I got...
Yeah, it must have really done it 1,000 songs later.
Yeah, it really did. And, like, I got colors, I got, like, all of these other Sonic games. And that's basically my story. I'm still trying to get them all, though. Still need to find a copy of Shadow and of Secret Rings. By the way, why was the storybook series a thing? Like, what was
I
the
don't-
reasoning behind
I
that?
don't understand.
Desperate need to have it be a special Wiimote style game. Like the controls, you unlocked the ability to have more precise control of Sonic in Sonic and the Secret
yeah,
Rings.
I
They
know
didn't
that,
sell it. I
but
was
why
like,
did
absolutely not.
I understand why the gameplay style was made, but why did they choose the settings of the Arabian Nights book and the King Arthur book? Why was that the concept for the story?
It's
we
just
have not
some-
talked
No,
about
wasn't
that
that
weird
game
new
originally called
direction.
Sonic Fire and it was way better?
Yeah,
or something.
I think it was originally
Sonic Wildfire.
supposed to be. It was originally supposed to be something more along the lines of, if I remember correctly from Nintendo Power, it was supposed to be something more along the lines of the Adventure series, but then they ended up changing it down the line and made
Because
it
the
into
Wii.
Secret Rings.
Because the Wii.
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, I'd like to note, I don't think we've talked about this, like, the story or the characters once this entire time.
Oh yeah,
And this might be a controversial opinion because I don't know what people think about this. I really like the characters. In the right story, I think they can be really fun and entertaining to watch.
It's so hard for me to judge because I was 13, I think, when I was introduced to them talking. I mean, I was younger than that when I was introduced to the characters, and so I've always thought that like Knuckles is really cool until the Sonic Boom version came around.
Sonic Boom Knuckles is the best character in that show. And you
Okay,
know it,
all right, I take it back. He's clearly superior.
He's the best character in the show.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I like a
continue.
lot of the characters. For some reason, I actually really enjoyed the Chaotix team in Heroes, that with like the detective agency or whatever they did.
I like the
But
chaotic.
a lot of them I
charming.
don't care.
I
Yeah,
feel like,
I mean
Cream
like
the
this-
Rabbit.
yeah, the series definitely has its duds and it definitely has way too many characters, but a lot of the characters I think are really good, or at least they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
I think the characters have changed a lot definitely over the years, and depending on what Sega feels like depicting them as, like I can like them or hate them. Like sometimes I
Yeah.
don't like Sonic, he's just kind of annoying, but other times I think he's really actually way past cool. And
Yeah.
and like I think there was something that happened to Sonic after they did the whole marketing campaign in the US, because if you look back and look at some of the official artwork and even Sonic in game during the Genesis era, like he wasn't this rambunctious 90s kid that's always out looking for adventure. He was kind of this, like, of course he was quiet, but he was this like solemn adventurer that goes around fighting Robotnik because he's destroying everything that he knows and loves. And over the years that's kind of been, I don't know, a little bent towards what the American marketing decided
changed
to promote him
everything.
as.
They
Yeah.
changed everything with like the name of the planet they were on, and like the fact that they started calling him Eggman consistently between regions was more recent. That started with Adventure kind of, and then it stuck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like the classic series didn't have this kind of like attitude about it, because Sonic 1 stands still, he kind of like taps his foot and gets impatient with you.
Yes,
He's like, come
Sonic-
on, I want to go
But they
fast."
ramped
Sonic
it up
had
so much.
personality.
If you look at his character model progression from 1 to 2 to 3, like
Oh,
he
yeah,
gets so much more intense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's also like the Sonic cartoons during the Genesis era were also a thing.
Yeah, there was 2. There was a good one and a bad one.
And if you look at the intro to Sonic CD, like, see how Sonic is characterized in the animated cutscenes that they do?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he has this really serious expression on his face, and he's not like, he doesn't have this big goofy grin the entire time like he does in everything nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. He's kind of
Yeah.
become a caricature of himself.
Yeah. I don't like how they've done that to him over the years, but I liked him in Sonic Colors. I like where they brought the character there, even though he's not the same as what he used to be.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to say I think overall the newest iteration of the voice cast is the best one by far. Roger Craig Smith is a really good Sonic.
I think I might agree with that.
I don't even remember to have an opinion there, but See, when I think about Sonic talking, I pretty much always think back to Sonic Adventure 1 on Dreamcast with the ridiculous mouth movements and how
Yeah.
amazing it is.
It was not a great start.
No.
No.
I would say that Ryan Drummond was the worst Sonic
Well,
voice.
I think Ryan Drummond got a lot better as time went on. Like around
Yeah.
Sonic Heroes, I think he was really
He was
starting
better,
to fit
yeah.
into the role. And
Yeah.
then they ditched him. So
Yeah. Jason Griffith wasn't bad, but he had one emotion, and
yeah,
that was my problem with him.
yeah.
Basically, no matter what Sonic was doing or what emotion he should be feeling, he had the same like stupid ass grin
Or like
like, cocky voice.
anytime they would try to make him angry, like he would do something really weird with his voice. And I don't know how to accurately describe it, but it just didn't sound natural at all.
If you mean like the werehog type thing, then I think it was a voice modulator for that.
Yeah, with like he did that with the werehog, and I think he also did it in Secret Rings a little bit when Sonic was getting angry. But
Yeah, I think that was a voice modulator.
Okay.
But yeah, I generally like the characters. I mean, they've kind of axed most of them, which I think this is a good transition into advice for the series for the future. And yes, I'm very glad that they axed like a lot of the bad characters, but you kind of just axed pretty much everybody that wasn't 100% necessary, and I think that some of the secondary characters could still be really cool in with these new writers.
Yeah.
And things. Like, it's basically just Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy now, but I think there could still be a place for Shadow or Blaze.
Well,
or
yeah, and I don't
Silver.
even think the problem was necessarily always that they existed. It was just that Sega felt compelled to make them all playable in an equal way.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, before we start talking about like advice on where the series should go from here, I think we have to establish where is the series right now. Because
Is it anywhere?
Yeah, Sega said that Sonic Boom may or may not actually be where the series is going. I think they were waiting to see how the game and the TV show
Yeah.
performed.
That's just a
I
way.
think
That's
what
like saying the
they-
DS is a third pillar. That just means we don't know if we're gonna make money yet.
Yeah.
I think what they said was that there are, like, that the Sonic Boom is an alternate universe, and that
better
the
be.
current universe that has all the other stuff in it still exists, but we're just working in the Sonic Boom universe right now.
So
I think
essentially,
that the next like big Sonic game, because I don't really count Fire and Ice as the next big Sonic game. I
No.
think the next big one's probably going to be in the regular style universe.
I kind of
I
hope
doubt
it
they're
is.
going to make another console Sonic Boom game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, after the debacle that happened with the first one, I don't think they're ever going to do that again.
Yeah. I don't think they'll abandon the series overall because the TV show is doing really well, but I think that for games they're going to shift back to the regular series.
Yeah, okay.
Or at least that's what they should do. Advice. Does anybody else have advice before I try to say another one?
I think definitely Sega needs to just find one thing that they want to do with the series and just run with it for a while. Because they've been spitballing so much with different ideas that it just gets really confusing for the fans, for the developers, and it just gets really taxing on us and them for them to keep trying new things over and over again and it failing every single time because they can't commit to it.
I was going to say pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Innovation is one thing, but you don't need to reinvent the wheel with every new installment.
Yeah, I would say be slightly less ambitious. Like ambition's great, but I think maybe they need to tone it down a little bit.
Maybe take a step back, see what has worked with what they've been doing before, like with Sonic Generations, perhaps, and then try to build on that a little bit more rather than just scrapping it and trying something new altogether.
And I wonder if maybe it has to do with when they have someone who's directing or producing the game, whoever's leading direction, if Sega's just kind of going, okay, here's the things you have to have in the game, otherwise do what you want, and everyone's trying to make it their own unique thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They need to kind of rein it in a little bit and be like, the series is still about something.
Yeah. Another thing I had was that I think a short, refined, replayable game is completely acceptable and completely encouraged because of what Sonic is. It's about like trying to go fast through the levels, and to do that you need to replay the levels over and over again. And a lot of things that plague some of the not as good Sonic games are that they're like bogged down with a bunch of gimmicks. I know Nick and I were talking about Sonic Rush Adventure and all of the ship stuff in that game.
Oh yeah, we didn't even mention that. There wasn't enough room for the bad features they've introduced.
Yeah. Like another Shadow the Hedgehog with you have to replay the things and do this specific way to actually get the ending, or Sonic Heroes where you play the game 4 times pretty much.
Yeah, because I think
The
Sega
challenges and generations were kind of not necessarily necessary.
The challenges, but I loved the challenges. I actually thought that was a great way to add something when most of the work always goes into the main levels, and the challenges probably took very little effort to reconstruct out of pieces of the levels.
Yeah, but they did a lot of them.
Well,
And
that's true. They could have done
the
with
effort
less.
that they spent doing all of the challenges, they could have added like another boss fight or something small like that.
See, I always got the impression that the way they had their team structured, they actually had different people making the challenges concurrently, and it wasn't really that they had the ability to make a whole new level with how those resources work. Because
that also might be true, but I figure that like especially with the stuff in like Rush Adventure, where if they had like not put the time into doing all of the ship things,
well, that's different. I agree with you.
They could have
there.
very easily done like a couple other more levels.
That's something they should have killed early.
Experience.
Yeah, even
make a more refined experience overall.
Even if the bonus things like the challenges are fun, they're still indicative of Sega being unsure about their product in the first place, because they feel like they have to pad it out. I think that's what they came out and directly said that in response to the Werehog levels in Sonic Unleashed. Is that the only reason the Werehog existed was that so that they could pad out the game so it's long enough.
Yeah.
And that resulted in a worse game, in my opinion.
I think in most people's opinion,
yeah.
the Werehog bogged down the experience of Sonic Unleashed.
Well,
so yeah,
my advice.
You don't need to create gimmicks in order to pad out a game's length, because if you make a game that's short and replayable and like really refined and have a good quality, that's all we need.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to be this 20-hour epic. That's not what Sonic.
A lot of players like unlockable art and stuff like that. Just keep doing the things where you have the 5 red coins hidden in multiple paths in the level, and it's fine.
Yeah, honestly, that's the perfect way to do it.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else? Because I got a couple more.
That's pretty much I've always just felt like they had it a few times, and they just need to not be afraid to go back to that and not feel like it always has to be new and different.
Yeah, I have almost a bit of a joke advice, because I know this is never going to happen, because Sega's just going to keep trying to drive modern Sonic. But ideally, for me personally, I would love it if they just scrapped all of the modern stuff and went back to continuing what they were trying to do with Sonic 4 and keep building on what they had with Sonic 3 and Knuckles and move on from there.
Well, I think the main idea for Sonic 4, to be honest, was have modern Sonic in a 2D environment for an entire game. And that questionably worked, depending on how you interpret it, but most people didn't like those games and how they worked.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't entirely be down with that. And that transitions into another thing that we kind of mentioned earlier, but I want to say it again. Sonic fans in general do not specifically have one voice in knowing what they want. Like, some people want 2D Sonic, some want 3D Sonic, some people have different ideas of what they want 3D Sonic to be or what they want 2D Sonic to be. Some people want dark stories, some people want light stories. We are not one voice. Do not take what any group of us says as the thing of the entire group. Do what you need to do to make your games good.
Yeah, because if there's no drive for them to create the kinds of games that any individual group of Sonic fans wants to do, then there's really no point, because the product isn't going to be as good. If they have a passion to make a certain kind of Sonic game, they should just run with it and not care about what anyone has to say.
Yeah. And a couple of shorter other ones that I have. Keep the direction of Sonic under your core teams. We don't need more Sonic Booms where you give it to other developers and have them work on a game. We don't need that. Sonic has generally always been better in the core, like Sonic Team or Dimps, if you want to think of Dimps, in their hands. So just leave Sonic with them. You don't need to worry about giving it to other people because it most of the time doesn't end up well.
And also, that's if Sonic Team even still wants to work on Sonic the Hedgehog games anymore. Because if they don't, I feel like Sega shouldn't be forcing them to do it. Because they haven't made too many other games in a very long time. Like I think they handled the Knights sequel that they had on the Wii a while back.
They made Ristar long ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Hi, Dan, and your Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's that game too.
Like,
my only other advice is never make a game like Sonic 3D Blast ever again.
I think they've taken that to heart.
Yeah, I hope so. They were like, wow, isometric is cool, right? No, it is not.
I think they were just like, wow, we can actually do 3D on the Genesis. Let's do that because people will think it's cool. Oh, wait, it's not cool at all.
I forget
now
if
that
that
they
came
can do
out...
actual 3D, I don't think they're ever going to do isometric again.
Yeah, I hope not. That was...
Especially since 3D Blast was not received well.
Well, they did a whole like Twilight Princess thing with it where they released it on the Genesis and the Saturn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and PC, in fact. That game was
really?
all over the place, yeah.
I think Sonic R was also on PC, right?
A bunch of them were. I had Sonic 3 and Knuckles on PC, and they removed all of the music that was potentially tied to Michael Jackson.
Ooh.
All of it.
So the good music.
Yeah, yeah, and I knew that too because the sub-boss theme was completely different. I was like, wait a minute, I know what this should be.
Wow, I didn't know about that.
Because Carnival Night was also different, and that was the other song that was like overwhelmingly similar to one of his
Was Ice
actual
Cap
songs.
the same, or did they change that too?
I believe that was the same because you had to change the tempo significantly to recognize the difference or the similarity between the Ice Cap and his song.
Oh, like I have like Hard Times. I bought Hard Times on iTunes by the Jetsons, and that song is so Ice Cap. You don't even need to change the tempo. It is Ice Cap.
I might be thinking of the credits theme. That might be the one I'm thinking.
Oh
of,
yeah, that's also a Michael Jackson one. I think that's like that is the one where you didn't change.
But I know that he made a song called Jam, and Carnival Night is unquestionably the same beat as that.
Look up Hard Times by the Jetsons when we're done this.
Oh,
it is exactly the same song as Ice Cap song. All right, I got two more real quick. Delaying games is okay. You don't need to rush a game out for the holiday because making a poorly received game will not sell better than just making a better game at a later time. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like Sega as a whole should take that to heart because they've been doing it even outside of the Sonic series. The guys who developed the Total War games, they've been pushed by Sega to get their games out earlier than they're ready, and that has resulted in these really glitchy releases that they don't actually fix until months and months of patches down the line. And Sega just needs to learn how to hold their horses and let their developers finish their games.
And one last thing, which I think is kind of a big issue, but I don't know I don't know much about how they would fix this, but I think it's worth mentioning. Sonic games today primarily target younger demographics, but the thing is, those demographics aren't playing Sonic games like they used to. It's more of like the main group of people I would say that play Sonic games nowadays are older demographics who have been like Sonic fans for years. So I figured they should try to shift their priorities at least a little bit.
That's true to a
Don't
degree.
go Shadow the Hedgehog on it.
That's true to a degree, but a lot of those older demographics have kids now. And I worked at a game store for a while, and there would be parents that would come in with their kids that were getting it just for their kid, and then there would be parents who came in who were just as excited about Sonic as their kid was. So I think there might be a little bit of a larger demographic than there used to be, in fact, and they just need to go more of the Mario route of not targeting adults or kids and just making it friendly to everyone.
Yeah, that's also very good.
Yeah.
I think we should probably cut this off because we're going kind of long. Is there anything, any closing statements?
I'm sorry, everyone. I thought the show would actually be short.
I had a feeling that it would be kind of short for a while, but then we ended up going really long on some of the bad things that Sonic has done and the advice section.
And so everyone who just so everyone knows, our goal here was to prove that Sonic is great, but I think we spent more time explaining why it isn't.
Well,
So,
I think that
I
Sonic
still think
is,
it's great.
Sonic
I still
is
think
very
it's great.
easily redeemable, and I think
Yes.
the reason that we have so many negative opinions on Sonic are because we're passionate about it, and because we've like looked into it and played all the bad games and like thought about it for long periods of time. So like we know that there are a lot of problems with the Sonic formula as it is today, but we want it to get better, and that's the main reason we're kind of critics of it.
Yeah.
Because we want it to improve. We want to see Sonic get better, and we want to see Sonic become this titan like he used to be.
Do we want to use Chris's thoughts as our closing statement?
Sure, we can do that.
If you guys want to do that, and then I'll sign us out.
Okay, so Chris, who couldn't be with us, was really hoping that everyone could know his opinions. So he wrote a little bit to contribute, and it covers kind of a summary of a lot of the material we've covered. And he said, I am definitely a big fan of the classic titles like everyone else, Sonic 3 and Knuckles being his favorite, as it should be, Chris. I pretty much played all of them up until Unleashed. What Sonic does right is rewarding players for using speed well to access higher areas. You'll get more rings, shields, extra lives. Chris is rambling, you guys know how it goes. The classic titles did this, but started not being as frequent as the series went on. And he actually wrote a lot, so I'm sorry, Chris, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. I think that really covers it there. Music is good. Too many bugs in the new games. Really, he just wants you to know that we're going to cover Sonic some more in an in-depth franchise review in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry for boring everyone with Chris's thoughts. He really means well. He's a great guy.
Yeah. He means well. He's troubled, but he means well. No. We're kidding. We love you, Chris. Alright, so this has been the ZBN Podcast 33. I've been Chase.
This is Nick.
And this is Josh.
Please like, comment, and subscribe if you got anything to say about us, or if you like the show. We will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.